Hello and welcome to Conversations with the Voice of Reason. I'm your host, Benjamin Boyce, and today's conversant is John LaRuffa. He runs his own YouTube channel covering the niche topic of solo board gaming. If you didn't know, board gaming has taken off dramatically in the last 10 years, with hundreds, if not thousands, of board games released every single year. And part of that hobby, part of that subset of that hobby, is solo board gaming, where it's you against the game or you against the game designer's game. It's kind of a niche topic, I know, but in this conversation, we talk about the pleasure, the enjoyment, the fun of board gaming, especially around pitting yourself against these really complex thematic things that are way beyond Monopoly, Risk, Solitaire, backgammon, all that stuff. If you don't know anything about the hobby, I think this is a good introduction. And if you want some recommendations, this show has got a lot of suggestions for you. You can find links to John's channel down there in the description, as well as links to support this channel. Without further ado, here is John LaRuffa.
So what's the format like? How we doing it?
I'm just going to rap.
Okay.
I'm just going to ask you questions, learn about you, put it on my channel.
Sounds good.
LaRuffa, what is that? French? Italian?
Italian. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
you got your family been here a long time, or?
Yeah. My dad's side emigrated here probably in like the 30s or so. And so that's where the LaRuffa comes from. But then my mom's side was on the Polish and German side. So I'm Italian, Polish, and German. I would beat somebody up, but I have no idea who.
Hopefully not yourself.
No, exactly.
Well, actually, maybe that's why you play solo games, so you can beat yourself.
Yeah, and that's it, right? I figured out my winning percentage against the solo opponent the other day, and it's roughly about 30%. So I clearly like playing more than I like winning.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Across all the games.
Yeah. So I keep track of my stats and have so for about 12 years. And I've got an idea, like what I played, whether, how many people I play with, AI, otherwise, you know what I mean? Like, and then who won? And I looked at it the other day, I'm like, oh my gosh, the solo bot's beating me 66% of the time.
Wow.
Yikes. But that just goes to show you how much I like playing games is I don't have to win. So
what got you into games?
So actually in college, like anybody else, you kind of, when you're a kid, you played the regular board games like everybody has. Yeah. But then college, when I was like a sophomore, I think, one of my friends said, hey, my buddy has this new game, Settlers of Catan. We got to try this out. Yeah. So that's where I started. And I played Settlers for like 3 or 4 years with my friends and anybody who I could press into service. But that was all I did for a long time. And I kind of got burned out by like 2003. I'd played, I don't know, a lot of Settlers. And so kind of stopped playing games and just went back to video games and such like I had for most of my life. But then in 2005, I got my wife Puerto Rico for Christmas because we were like, we should do more things together. We used to like playing games. I heard really good things about Puerto Rico. Let's give that a try. And then that just kind of opened the floodgates of like, oh my gosh, this game's amazing. And a lot of my coworkers at the time really got into it. And so we started playing Puerto Rico like before work, at lunch, after work.
Okay, so let's drill down into this. What about Puerto Rico opened up board gaming? Like, so there's Monopoly, there's Risk, there's Battleship, there's poker, all those games. And then there's this thing called Catan. It's more economic.
Yeah. Well, Catan was fun, but the thing that was fun about Catan was you got to barter and trade with people, right? That was the cool thing. And eventually that got a little stale because, when people get good with the game, they get really stingy with the trades and stuff. And it's kind of like, all right, let's go. It's more about rolling the dice and getting lucky so I can produce. Yeah. But Puerto Rico was on a whole nother level. And the reason being is because it had this variable phase order mechanic, which was, I choose, I get a benefit, and then everybody else does the same thing. So it became a huge mind game of, I don't have to choose this because I know they're going to choose that. So I'm going to do this and anticipate they're going to do that. And we just played it so much. We got really, really, really deep into like there was like three levels. Like the first one was just kind of playing and enjoying and this and that. And then the second one was like, oh, these are obviously like the best and the only strategies you can win with.
Yeah.
And then there was the third level, like those strategies are a trap. Like that's what the new guy, you think it's good, but it's not worth the money because you're going to spend 4 coins here when you really should be spending the doubloons there at this time. And then, really just play that game a lot. And then I started getting into more Euro games. Like I realized that was in 2006 is when I found that there is this thing called Board Game Geek. And then I did a lot of research on things like that, and played a ton of games. But I went for a couple of years. So then I ended up moving back to Michigan, changing jobs, and I lost my gaming group. And so it was a little while before I found a new group where I am now. But then I started to, when I got into solo gaming was when games like Pandemic first came on the market, which was 2007 or 2008, I think. And also Agricola was one of the first games that had a solo mode. And so it was like, oh, these, and I don't know how are you familiar with all of these games or not?
I just started with Agricola, but I'm kind of addicted to Feast for Odin. Right now.
Yeah. Feast for Odin is fantastic, right?
Yeah.
That's one of my top 5 games, top 10 games, I would say.
Yeah. There's something about that game. Yeah.
Well, it's a sandbox. You can do whatever you want. You can try different things. You can experiment with different things. There's a plethora of actions. But anyway, that's when I got into big solo gaming. And then what happened was when we hit the pandemic and there was nothing to be done.
So there's this game for anybody who's tuning in who doesn't know board games, and a lot of people don't. There's this game called Pandemic. Came out in 2008, 2007. You said
2008 maybe, somewhere around there.
So about 12 years before the pandemic. So there's this game, and I just want to drill down into this. So you were playing against other players, but at some point you started playing against the game,
right?
Which is what the solo modes are. You're playing against the game. Yep,
absolutely. Sorry, I'm getting a little ahead of myself, but
no, you're excited. I love it.
That became my passion because it's great to play with other people. It really is. But I was teaching a lot of games, and I would teach this game, we'd play it, and then these people wouldn't be there the next time I played the game. It would be a different game, and so for lack of a better word, or a better way I put it, there was 2 things. They really couldn't keep up, right? Because I had such a burning desire to learn new things. Yeah. I was always bringing a new game, and it was just because these guys and the gaming group also had their own games. So it was great to play with a lot of these folks. It was really fun, but I played with a couple of guys that were a little bit slow on taking their turn, and that would be a little distracting. And so when the actual world pandemic happened, and there was nobody to play with, then all of a sudden the world of solo gaming exploded. Every game started to have a solo mode. That was a requirement almost, Yeah. And that's when, instead of 5 or 10 good games coming out a year, 5 games with the solo mode, now you had 50 games with the solo mode. And that's kind of how I really got into solo gaming, because I could play what I felt like playing. I only had to learn it myself. And this is the biggest part, because of family and everything else, I could leave it set up. I could play a couple of turns, and then I could walk away and I'd come back tomorrow, finish the game, and play as much as I wanted, and then leave it and return. And playing at my own pace was a really, I think, addictive thing for me, that I wouldn't have to sit there and wait for someone else to make a move. But also, if I felt like I'd played enough rounds, I'll just, go do something else for a moment, and then whatever. So,
yeah. So in solo gaming, I guess you don't need to wait for the developers to make a solo mode. You could kind of, if you have the mind for it, do 2-handed or 3-handed. Did you experiment with that?
I did, before solo gaming was really a thing. So a lot of times what happened was, when I buy a game to play multiplayer with my group, I would do a 2-handed or a 3-handed situation just to learn it. Yeah. I never found that super satisfying, though, to be honest. The fact is that when you do that, you've got a lot of overhead. You got to do a lot of juggling here, or it just doesn't feel like, I don't know. I know a lot of people do that. That is not my thing. So I would only do that in the most dire situations, and usually it was just to learn the game so that I understood it before I taught other people.
Okay.
So yeah, I'm not one to spend a lot of time like developing a solo mode if a game doesn't have one. If it doesn't have one, usually I'm just not interested in trying it unless somebody else makes something.
So there's games that are in the gaming lingo. I guess there's co-op games where it's everybody against the game. So usually in those modes, doing two-handed, like with Pandemic, I guess you just play a couple of characters, or
yes, no problem there.
Yeah,
no problem playing multiple there, right? Like co-op games where you're doing that, like especially the first time, Pandemic was the big one when I realized, oh yeah, I could try a two-handed game, I could try a three-handed, I could try a four-handed game. And you set it up kind of around you, but you still feel like since you're all on the same team, I'm not trying to compete with myself. And that was the biggest problem I had with the two-handed when you're not doing that. It's like, well, I mean, how do you fake out yourself, right? It seems weird. But the games that are really good to do the co-op are the Arkham Horror, Eldritch Horror, Mansions of Madness. Those games play phenomenally solo because they are co-op games, but you can play two-handed very easily in those games.
Because you have the same objective, and the story in those games especially, they have a really rich theme to them. Do you have the LCGs, the living card games, the Arkham stuff? That's what I've familiar with that. I didn't go to the Lord of the Rings or the Marvel, but the Arkham's phenomenal.
Yeah. Yes, it is. And that game is really good, especially if you want a different feel from scenario to scenario. Because it really, I mean, rules, the whole thing, not the rule, the rule system's the same, but as you know, if I play one scenario, it can feel totally different than another scenario, totally different than a third scenario. And I think in regards to that, there is some charm there, but there's also, it depends on how hungry you are to learn something completely new, because I do have the Marvel LCGs. I would say I've got a third of the content for the Arkham Horror, maybe half the content. I've got about a third to a half for the Marvel, and then about a third to the Lord of the Rings to a half. Like I seem like I get to a point, I'm like, that's enough, that's plenty.
Okay.
And then I enjoy the system for a while. And they're all good in their own way, but they are quite expensive when you start to, you start to do that.
Yeah. So, I stumbled into board gaming. I liked it when I was younger, kind of at college age. And I'm like, wow, there's all these different things. And then I'd play online or like app versions of different board games and stuff. But I got married. I inherited a couple stepsons, and they're homeschooled. And so board games would be a good way, or have been a really good way, to learn math and then interact and kind of doing a mental exercise together.
Sure.
And when I got into that, it was like 3 years ago. I knew there was this thing called Euro games in 2007. So I took a long break, and then all of a sudden you look at your shelf behind you, there's just hundreds upon hundreds upon hundreds of games. So I've just been like looking and seeing and buying deals and like getting invested into going to the next thing. How do you pace yourself?
That is a really good question. I'm fortunate that I started early, so to speak. Yeah. And so I don't have the amount of choices you have right now. Like I feel like it's crazy. It'd be crazy for someone to get into the hobby right now when they have thousands of choices. When I started, there were hundreds of choices there. And it was so much more narrow, and then it exploded. And I think when it exploded and it just got big, especially I'd say probably the last 10 years, there's just, the amount of games that is published, and they're not all great, right? That's, there's some of them that are okay. There's some of them that are great. There's some that are fantastic. And there's some that are just amazing. But that's the toughest thing, is you have to figure out what you like, and you have to be really clear about, do I have a game that's so similar to this that I don't need another one?
Yeah.
And I'm really, if you like a system, like a different thing, I think you can go deep into that, right? So you mentioned A Feast for Odin. I love Uwe Rosenberg's games, Agricola, Feast for Odin, Fields of Arle, or Arle, how you pronounce it. So many good games, Oranienburg Canal. There's a whole side of him where I feel like he almost can do no wrong. Now, he does have some duds in there. And then he has this other thing, and all of those I can find in my collection. But then he has this other side of things where he has all these polynomial games, right? And if you've played one, you've played many. Not all of them, but it's like I don't think you can, for instance, way up there, somewhere up there is Framework, right?
Framework, okay.
So Framework is a simple one of his polynomial games that I ended up keeping. But there's 3 or 4 that are very similar, and were either they're all light, but some of them were like too gamey to be light. Some of them were too light to be fun. Framework was like right in the spot where I wanted it to be. Yeah. So the fortunate thing I've had is my local game store has an awesome consignment program. So if I don't want to play anything anymore, I can consign it there for store credit and use that to get something else.
Yeah.
So I've actually sold 3 times as many games as I have in my collection.
Yeah.
Over the years, right?
Yeah.
Which is both good and bad, but.
So I really enjoy your channel. What started you on the YouTube channel? You're just like, I have a webcam. Why not?
It was funny. So that's a weird story. Number one, I actually started because I used to write like EDM music and trance music and stuff like that.
Really?
And I really liked it. But how do you get that out there, right? So I had a YouTube channel with those posted, and nothing was going to happen because, it wasn't even a video. It was just like, so I one day I'm like, well, I was sitting there and I was actually sick and tired of, so there was 2 things. Number one, I felt like I wanted to create something and have some fun. Mm-hmm. Number 2, the need was I was sick and tired of relearning board games that I knew at one time, but I'd forgotten. And so I actually started the channel to try to videotape myself playing, teaching the board game to an audience, with the whole idea that I would speed it up, and it would be like I used to call them rule speed throughs. And at the very beginning, I sped it up to like 1.5, so that I could watch it quickly, because I found that sometimes when people taught board games, what I would watch, it'd be like an hour and a half or 45 minutes or 70-minute video. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I just cannot, I don't want to spend that much time learning something. I might as well just read it. So I thought to myself, when I learn a game, I can learn it, I can teach it to myself, and I can record it with the speed, quicker. Yeah. And then next time I need to do it, I'll just watch my video. And so that's how it
was a mnemonic device.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Okay.
Now I did a couple of those, and then I realized, people like, for what, and I didn't know this, but people like unboxing things, right? And they have all these unboxing videos for all these things. So then I started like, well, every time I get a new game, I'll just unbox it. Yeah. And I'll record it. And that started getting things going. And then I started to do reviews, and it just kind of built on itself. But it's so funny. I had my channel for almost 2 years where I didn't even have the 1,000 subscribers I needed to, crest over, until I finally made a top 10 video on a whim. Yeah. And then all of a sudden the word top 10, YouTube just blasts that out, right?
Yeah.
It's so funny because I can do, I can do videos on almost anything, and I just do one top 10 video, and then it's, it'll get 2,000 or 5,000 or 10,000 views. And
that's how you go from the red to the black on the channel.
Oh, absolutely.
Metrics. Yeah.
So I try not to always put them out, but they're either prolific or popular or both. I don't know, but it's a whole different story. So finally, when I made one of those, then I was able to get enough people to monetize and say, oh, we finally made it. Yeah. And then I started picking up enough subscribers and stuff. But in the beginning, it was pretty slow going,
Yeah. What was the first top 10 video? What was your theme?
It was just top 10 Euro games, or something like that, solo games, right? Okay. It wasn't even No, you know what it was? I remember it was top 10 essential solo games. And the idea was this was back in 2001, I think. I wanted to give people that weren't like they would try to give them a 10 different solo games they could play to get like all sorts of different genres. So there was no overlap. I remember Arkham Horror was one for a co-op, and definitely A Feast for Odin was one in there for a sandbox kind of game. And it was just to get people started in the hobby at the time. Like, if you have never played any games that you know you want to play, I'll give you 10 amazing solo games that you can enjoy. And that helped.
Yeah. How simple can a game get? What's like, I'm having trouble trying to formulate this, but in order to be both simple and interesting, like what's the most simple solo game that's also still gets your juices going after 20, 30 plays?
Yeah, I would give that to games, especially roll and writes are really good at that. Welcome to is probably my most played simple solo game for a couple reasons. Number one, it's on Board Game Arena. Number two,
pop it out.
It is very simple to play, right? And it's simple to execute. The other one that's really simple to play that's good is Railroad Inc. Very simple. I always enjoy my solo plays of Railroad Inc. Yeah. It's kind of funny. Like I like roll and write games either be really simple like that, where it's, you're just rolling or flipping. It's a flipping, right? For Welcome to, but kind of on the easy side, or I want it to be on the super, complex side, like what's it? Imperium.
Twilight's, something.
It's not Twilight Struggle. It's what I'm looking for. Twilight Inscription. Twilight Inscription. Fantastic game. It's a roll and write. But where it's weird, when I have a medium weight roll and write, I'm not super enthused. It's like it kind of gets to the point where it's not. I sell most of those. I play them a couple times. Like, it's not good enough to be to keep me going, and it's too heavy to just play on a whim.
Okay.
So that's a weird thing. I have this divide in my collection for roll and writes.
Little dip. Yeah.
Great example of that is the game it was called Rome. I think it was like Rome Roll and Write or whatever it was. I can't remember. I sold it because it was hit that exact spot in the middle. It was just gamey enough to not be easy to play and not interesting enough to play it over and over. And it was long on the long side too.
Yeah. One thing that, so it's been a couple of years since I've been in this hobby, and, I get an itch for a new game every couple months. Yeah. Probably more than that, but I'll just say a couple months, in case my wife tunes in. And so I go hunting for reviews on YouTube, and it doesn't seem like not a lot of reviewers, and I wish reviewers did this. They would review the game when it was the hot thing and then make a comment about a year later, because your impressions of the game at the beginning, you're always going to be excited about it because you're learning things, and there's all this exploration is a part of the hobby. But once that wears off, I'm like, what's the staying power for the game?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. And sometimes I do like a follow-up video, not often, but I'll also do I get the series called Solo and Sold It, where it was games that I bought and I sold for whatever reason. Usually it's because I played it enough. Or I enjoyed it, but it was replaced by something else or whatever, and so I do that. I usually do a video. It's been a couple of months since I do those. I did one, but I try to do 5 games. I try not to bash on games. There's only a couple games where I'm like, this game is just it's not good. They undercooked it, and it's clear.
Really?
And because this is someone's like passion, right? They put a lot of effort into this thing, and they play tested it. The only ones I feel like get a little bit more of a terse thing for me is when it's clear that they just tossed into solo mode and it's almost broken. It was tacked on at the very end, and it is not enjoyable. Because then I feel like I got to let people know that even though it says 1 to X on the box, 1 is not the way to go. And it's obvious because these rules don't even address many situations that I encounter on my first or second play. But But the solo and sold it is usually still a pretty positive thing. But I always try to do one big one that like will blow people's mind. Like, how could you possibly sell that game? It's great. And I explain why I do. And the one that usually like really ticked people off the one time was Mage Knight. You know, I sold Mage Knight, and that's like that's people's favorite game.
Yeah.
And the reason I sold Mage Knight a long time ago is because every time I stopped playing it, it was so hard to relearn all the nuances. It was exhausting.
Oh, really?
And so a lot of games like that will be Merv, another great game, really a good game, sold it because it was so difficult to figure out the if-thens and the priorities of the solo mode. It would just exhaust me. And I looked at it on the shelf, like, I'd love to play this, but I don't want to relearn this right now. Yeah. I don't want to try to sort through it.
There's a good exhausting and a bad exhausting.
Right.
Right. So what's an example of a really good game that just exhausts you by the time you're done with it?
Probably Weather Machine is the first one that came to my mind.
Really?
So Weather Machine is a brutally difficult game to play, and it's really exhausting. There's a lot to consider. There's a lot to think around the edge. And it's a pretty tough game to play solo. But something about that game fascinates me, and I don't know why. And it's been a little while since I played it because it is kind of hard to learn. And it's hard to remember, but it is one of those that I always say the juice is worth the squeeze.
Yeah.
Even though it's a heavy lift.
Yeah.
Now, like Mage Knight would be one where I think it's exhausting is a game that has a lot of nuanced rules that are different from the way you play versus the way the solo mode plays.
Okay, so you have to, it's like almost two-handed, where you have to completely be in two different states at the same time.
Yeah. Like in order for him to take his turn, it's similar enough where his turn is like yours, but it's not like yours. He doesn't do, and it's not just about not paying for things. It's kind of like they ignore this, but they do this, and they make the decision this way. And there's, you know what? And first of all, I'll be very clear. Everybody who puts in a solo mode is doing me a huge service. So I appreciate a game for having a solo mode because I think it's a blessing. Otherwise, I wouldn't be playing any of the games behind me. So I always want to make that clear when I talk about things. If I get a little bit frustrated with the solo mode, I appreciate it way more than maybe I won't put up with it, but it's not like, oh, shame on them. They couldn't make a good solo mode. No. Thank you for trying. Yeah. Maybe it doesn't work for me. Maybe I won't put up with it, but that doesn't mean it's bad. My favorite ones are ones where you don't have to do a lot of prioritization. So I flip over a card. It tells me exactly what the guy's going to do. And I don't have to go through a bunch of if-then statements.
A flow chart or something like that.
Yeah, and flow chart's okay, but that's exhausting. So the only place I'll put up with a lot of that is in coin games because you can't do it without a flow chart. And I end up I like the ones that use decks of cards versus the flow chart. The deck of cards is kind of it's like a flow chart anyway, but it's easier to deal with.
Coin is counterinsurgency, and it's by a company called GMT. And I would put it, I have not played any of them yet, but I've looked into them. They're on the drier side. They have like actually a longer pedigree. And actually it's kind of a separate pedigree than the Euro games.
Oh, for sure.
Because they're American designed and they're very explicitly war games. Yes. And actually war simulations, I would say. Yeah.
Absolutely. It is an acquired taste. I had somebody tell me playing a coin game is like basically a 4-person free-for-all sumo wrestling match because that's what it is. You've got 4 different factions usually. Sometimes there's 3. And you're pushing and shoving your way throughout the whole game. And it's little bits here, unwind there, make some progress there, move back there. And it's a lot of that tug, push and tug kind of thing. And it's heavy. The GMT, at least for the coin games, for lots of other ones, for lots of other games, they have rule books that are written like a textbook. It's a very, they're not rules that I think are fantastically written. They tell you everything, but they don't necessarily teach you the game. They've gotten better. They've gotten better with examples, and they always have a playbook, which is really helpful. Only problem with that is you have to have the patience to play through a 50-page playbook.
Yeah,
So
by playbook, it's like you're running through the instructions just to learn it. So you're not actually playing the game. You're kind of just letting the game play itself.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yep. So you have to have the patience to go through that. And that is why they put them together. And I appreciate that. Like, again, it's amazing that they do it. Otherwise, it would just be like saying, well, here's the rules of the road for a driving course. I'm not going to teach you how to actually drive. We're not going to have a coach out there. You're just going to read this book. You're going to get behind the wheel and see what happens.
Yeah.
I'm not even necessarily going to tell you what all the buttons and pedals do. Like, you're going to figure that out. And that's kind of what it is like when you read a coin. It's like, this is this action. And they've gotten a little better where they say, why do I take this action? What does it help me do? And man, you have to stand on the shoulders of multiple coin plays to finally have it click.
Yeah. Yeah. So a game that I got myself for my birthday, and I got it for me because I don't want to teach my stepkids, and I'm never going to teach my wife, is a game called Voidfall.
Oh, yeah.
And I watched your review and your playthrough, a number of different playthroughs. And actually, that's kind of what stirred me. I got to talk to John. I've been watching him enough, like maybe he'll talk to me. I don't know.
Oh, absolutely.
But after I learned it, and then it was my birthday, and my wife's like, well, what are you doing? I'm like, well, I'm learning this game. And she wanted me to talk about it, because she's being very generous because it's my birthday. So I told her about it, and she let it slip. She's like, you have a great mind. You could be making us so much money if you were playing a board game. It's an interesting thing about these hobbies. Video games, I think board games have a different feel than video games. Sure. And maybe you've had thoughts about this, but it is something about a hobby where, like you could do sports or golf. Like, yeah, sure, I'm working out my brain, or I'm working out my cardiovascular system, but there's so many other things I could be doing with my time, my mind, my imagination. And I'm not bringing this up for you to justify it, but I'm bringing it up because I'm sure you've thought through this. What are your thoughts on that? Like, to invest so much in this?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So the way I look at it is the board game arena allows me to continually learn things I'm interested in. So for me, it's all about a passion for learning something new, but not something like, I think there's a lot of people who study history, who like to be into other things, who like to, I don't know. I'm trying to think of, they like to learn concepts. They like self-improvement things. They read business books. Maybe that's a little bit of it, but I like
even math. There's certain forms of math that is just experimental. It's just something that you're teasing your mind to do these functions.
Right. I think that's why I think it's a worthwhile thing. You get to learn a brand new system, and then you can see, can I use that system to do well? And whatever it is, whatever kind of board game. And that's the thing, what the solo game is so good, because the solo game is me beating what's really the game designer's best effort at a competitive system. Sometimes it even cheats to be competitive, but a lot of times they just, like, you could tell that these guys said, this is the most optimal way that a bot or whatever would take the move. And so do I have what it takes to outsmart the system in its best? The answer to that, only a third of the time, and usually that's when I'm on easy or medium, but not hard. But you bring up Voidfall, and Voidfall is an endless, I think, game. You can go so deep in that because you can set it up in so many ways solo that you're always learning. And what you're doing after you've mastered the system is you learn the nuances of what makes this faction effective and what is it not good at, and what technologies does it play well with, and which ones are a waste of time. And when you sit down in front of that game, and you have literally, obviously it throws a lot of tactical things at you, but it's all about your strategy. Like, I'm going to try to get this, and this done so that I can win. And if I struggle along the way, or I can't get that done, I'm probably going to lose. And what's amazing is when you first start to win the game, which I've only really won on easy difficulty, and medium on the easiest scenarios, right? You all of a sudden realize you could do much more than you thought you could do. Like, oh my gosh, if I play these together, There is such a synergy there that allows me to do so much more. And I think those breakthroughs are what are really fun about playing this hobby. You know, it's solving that, like you use the math analogy, it's solving that equation and finally getting an answer where 1 doesn't equal 1 and X doesn't equal X. Like, I figured it out. I got a real answer, and it's the right answer, and it's strong and defendable.
There's a way of looking at certain games, or I think a designer has failed, or the game is a cul-de-sac or a dead end if it can be solved.
Yes.
And so it's easier to solve simpler games, but once you have these different interlocking mechanics, then you see there's not a way to solve it, but there's a way to survive it. That's when it becomes alive. And it's hard to translate that to people who don't play board games because they don't understand this art form, and it really is an art form.
Yes.
The amount of stacking kind of like rhyme and meter and all these different techniques are coming together and then have been experimented on by so many designers that once you start to understand what people are asking you to do or asking you to solve, then you're like, oh, there's all these different spaces. So I don't think, I know that certain board games can be solved, and that means like if you do this, this, and this, then it's done. Or in a competitive game, if you take these different strategies, you're either, there's 2 or 3 strategies that are going to win.
Right.
Is that, I'm just wondering, and what you were just describing is this way of growing in competence, but you haven't solved it yet. You're seeing that there's a lot more, I guess the space for mastering the system is broader because there's never any simple answers.
Right. Yep. I agree with you. In a solvable game is, of course, it's a disappointment, right? As soon as that happens, no matter what it is, people are instantly let down. And that has to do, I think, with the narrowness or the broadness of the scope. And that's a trap these days. There are more games that end up being solvable because people are trying to pump out a game in a way that is just, I don't know, either they're trying to hit a theme or they're trying to use a mechanic, but they haven't really play tested it enough, or they didn't give it enough effort to make sure there was enough there where it's not solvable. A good example of that is people say, well, you know, a Feast for Odin could be solvable. Okay. And it is, in a lot of ways, it's a solvable game, but my gosh, does it take a long time to solve that game. Yeah. And I know it's solvable because I've been beaten by people when I played on Board Game Arena who score 175 points. And it's like, that is amazing. My high score, I think, is 115, and I thought I was cooking with gas. And these people are scoring literally almost double what I'm capable of. And I'm like, they must have solved it. I haven't solved it. And I don't want to know, right?
You don't want to know. Yeah.
But the thing why that game is so great is because there's so many things you can try that you don't have to solve it. I can try an animal strategy. I can try an island strategy. I can try an emigration strategy. I can blend all these things together. And I think that's how a good game becomes not worth solving. When you have a really narrow game, when it's like, I obviously have to, like, contract fulfillment games can be very narrow. And those games usually don't hold up in my collection, or probably anybody's collection. When it's just
could you define that genre for?
Sure. So normies? A contract fulfillment game means that I've got to gather together resources or items or something in order to fulfill a card that'll give me points. Okay. So it's like, I need X, Y, and Z, and as soon as I get X, Y, and Z, I can trade that in to get 17 points. And usually those games are pretty solvable because you realize that there is an optimum way to get those resources. And once you figure that out, you're gonna solve those contracts faster than anything else. And then once you've done that, you've basically seen all the game has to offer.
Yeah.
And those are kind of a letdown to me.
Yeah.
You know,
there's another aspect to board games that I'd like to hear your thoughts on. There's a reason why we fall in love with a game. It's either the moments that it gives us with other people, or the challenge, or it makes me feel exhausted in a delicious way. But there's also this thing called there's probably more than these two things, but there's the mechanics and then there's the theme.
Yep. Yep.
And I'm wondering, and you've done a video about like the thematic games. Could you just talk about like what is theme and what's mechanics, and when do they work,
Sure.
when do they don't work, and why are they both important?
Yeah, agreed. I think that, in my opinion, mechanics are way more important than theme. That's the way my style is, because it can be the most thematic game, but if it's not fun, then you're not going to it's not going to be there for the long haul.
Okay.
That's my opinion. And so a
So
good
hold on. So let's slow down. Could you define theme and mechanic? Let's just build it from like very simple blocks, because then you use the word fun, and I want to get to the word fun, but we have to know what we're talking about before we get there.
Yes, absolutely. So theme means that this is what the game story is supposed to be around, right? You're supposed to be in the midst of whatever it is. So a theme might be building a base on a moon. So I'm supposed to feel like I am an astronaut or an engineer, and I'm directing things or I'm planning things. And so thematically, I should feel like I am doing something moon-like or space-like or whatever. And mechanics is more like, well, how do I accomplish that? Do I roll dice? Do I get cards? Do I trade things in? Do I put workers on spots to get resources? Do I put workers on spots to take actions? Do I, how do I do what I'm supposed to be doing to play the game? And where I think the theme, you see a lot of people saying, oh, the theme in my brain of like what's happening. People do like that. And they tell us this game tells an amazing story.
Yeah.
And maybe that works really well with people in multiplayer games for sure, especially games where people are boisterous and you have people that really kind of play it up. Those can survive. I think solo games that rely heavily on theme to tell a story, but don't have the mechanics or the excitement behind it is really tough, because it's like, well, I'm making that up, but do I really feel like it's fun to tell a story? Here's a great example. So a big game right now that's popular is Deep Regrets. Okay. So Deep Regrets is probably, I'll say probably because I've never played, probably a great multiplayer game to play 2 or 3 people. It's a fishing game about going out and trying to catch fish and getting better equipment and going to port and pushing your luck a little bit and things. But in the solo mode, it literally is just about going to try to catch fish on a roster. I've caught this fish, I check it off.
Okay.
You play game after game, and you're basically just trying to catch every fish in the card deck.
Okay.
So some people love that idea, like, oh, I feel like I've gone out and I've used this to catch this fish, and I see myself there. And they're like pacing, putting this theme into a story. They're in their own head, like, I'm going to use this special lure, and they tell themselves like, oh, the theme or that story it tells, and the feeling is great. That doesn't work for me. I sold that game after 2 plays. I'm like, I don't need to. The mechanics weren't fun enough at all, because they were very repetitive to carry me into that. Now I'll say, here's a game that's very thematic that I think the theme is perfectly in concert with the mechanics, and that is like the Arkham Horror or the Eldritch Horror games, any of those kinds of games where there's a narrative, but you really feel like it melds really well with the game. The mechanics are...
In those games, you're looking for objects and you're trying to figure out what's happening, and you have to like complete these objectives in order to figure something out. But also these horrors, the combat starts to happen where you actually have to survive while you're doing it. So there's multiple ways that there's a way that you're exploring the story, and then there's a way that the story is trying to kill you. So I think those two things working intensify the situation, and that's where like a really strong narrative like click happens.
Exactly. And I'll give you an example. So the reason that's cool is because you feel like things are pressing in on all sides, right? You have these weird horrors that are popping up, these strange mysteries. It's like you don't know what's around the next corner, right?
Yeah.
And that is really cool. Now, another game in a similar fashion, similar kind of mechanics, there's games out there where you might be like dealing with crime in a city, and these minions or these bad guys might be stacking on spaces, and they're filling the board, and they're like, kicking you out of things. But there is no theme there because it seems very generic. I'm just rolling a bunch of dice to try to beat these guys back and reduce this till I find the boss. And that's where I think, like, okay, that theme could have been anything, and it's not very exciting. And
Okay.
there's no
What game are
like,
you talking about? Is this
so there was a game called Kick Ass. I'm sorry if that's I don't try to use bad language on the channel, but
yeah, we're fine.
That's the game's name, and it was based on a movie, right? But the game was so uninteresting to me because it just piled up a ton of odds against you, and you were trying to overcome them with items. In a lot of ways, it felt like just an uninspired knockoff of Arkham Horror or Eldritch Horror. And you're moving around a map in a city, and you're trying to, like, it took elements of like Pandemic too in a lot of ways, where the more of these bad guys would show up.
Yeah, there's these encroaching negative effects. Yeah,
but it wasn't. It didn't have the same charm. There was no excitement, like, oh man, I lost, but boy, that was cool. Like a lot of cool things.
Okay.
It was just like, no, I literally got my ass kicked. That's what happened in this. The game's perfectly titled, and I didn't feel like I enjoyed the experience. I didn't have any weirdness happen or whatever, a narrative thing happened to me.
Yeah, nothing surprised you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And so that's where I think that I could definitely draw. The theme isn't necessarily as important to me, but sometimes in games like that, you need a theme to make it cool. You need a theme to bring. I don't care. In a lot of pure Euro games, I could care less what the theme is. Rasafa is a great example.
Which one is this?
This is a game by Vladimir Suchi, who the theme is literally pasted on. I'm sorry, it just is. It is a Euro game through and through, but you're in a Middle East setting in the desert, and you're trading, and you're building a little oasis and stuff, and it doesn't matter. This could be anything. It could be any town. It could be any time frame.
In the space, you could be in underground with gnomes, or
correct. And it's like, that doesn't matter. I don't feel like I am, going on these camel adventures and doing this. I'm just turning this and that. But I don't care, because the mechanics are so tight and they're so cool, and the game makes me excited because there's something interesting to discover. Now, I'll throw this in too, and I want to say this. Yeah. One of the best things about a game, in my opinion, is that it ends 2 to 3 turns before you're done playing it. If a game ends before you are done playing it, you are way more likely to want to play it again. You're way more likely to bring it back to the table because you want more. You were not quite finished and the game ended. Yeah. If you're done playing the game before the game ends, that is a terrible turnoff for me.
Yeah.
Like, if I'm like, this game is dragging, it's so much harder to bring it back out to the table. I love it when the game is done and I still have a lot more gas in the tank, a lot more hunger, because I'm like, oh, I want to set it up again. I want to play it again right away because I want to try something else. And I'm ready for it. And that wasn't my idea. That was actually I think it was the designers and developers of Magic the Gathering said that. Like, really? They specifically made that game to be over faster than the players wanted it to be. Yeah. So they could play it again.
Yeah.
And it's genius.
It's a little bit predatory if it's monetized too much.
Well, that's a different story, yes. But just in general, if your game makes you hungry for more, if you can't do everything and you wanted to do more, great example of that is Civolution. It's actually a longer game, but you never feel like you get enough done. Yeah. And you're like, oh man, I wish I had some more turns, and there's so much I wanted to do and I couldn't get done. Or I got distracted and I was dabbling.
I've played Civolution about 6 or 7 times now. I need to get it back out. And are you satisfied with the solo mode? I haven't played it with other people yet, so I'm wondering how it would play at 2, well, actually 3 or 4, to really see the map like bubble and stuff. Have you had a chance to see it with other people?
I've never played with other people, but I'm totally satisfied with the solo mode.
Why?
And the reason being is because I have so many more strategies to try. I feel like I barely.
Okay.
In
There's so
10
many
games,
options in this game. There's like 67 or something like Feast for Odin. It's just like there's so many different things you could do.
Right. And so to me, the board placement is a means to an end. It's not that's not the most interesting thing for me. It's not like, oh, I need a good area majority to make this game fun. What's fun to me is I can play all these cards that do a little bit different things. I can try a trade strategy. I could try development strategy. I could try card strategy. I could try 3 of those things. I could do it in, like I said, tons of combos. To me, that's all I need. It's an endless supply of dabbling and experimenting, which I love.
I guess the YouTube channel that you have allows you to short circuit this question, but is there a game that you find and you just love so much that you have to share it with other people? You have to play it with other people.
Oh, you mean share it like in I got to teach other people no matter what?
Yeah, that crosses that solo group threshold.
Gosh, you know what? I think, to be honest, the most recent time that happened was playing Men Nefer. So Men Nefer, if you played that game,
it was just on sale, but I had just gotten Voidfall, and I'm tapped out for the month. Yeah.
Take your time with Voidfall. That's all I'd say there. Don't rush.
Yeah,
like use the time.
I'm going to keep it set up in my office.
Exactly. Yeah. And I promise you, if you play it 3 or 4 times in a row, you'll remember how, even if it goes a couple months. That's always my fear. Is I learn a game, I spend a lot of effort, and then I switch to something else. But like you said, Men Nefer was a game that provides so many little rewards of, like, because you're playing it, and everything you do gives you a little bonus here, a little benefit here, a little this, a little that.
Do you have the box in Reach? Can you show the audience?
I can. You just get it.
It's set in Egypt. It's very like it's the quintessential beige Euro look.
Oh yeah. It's also a busy board. I mean, so this is the box, the front of the box, not all that surprising, but when you look at this board, look at all that stuff going on there. There's so much going on. And for a game, for somebody who likes like constant rewards, like this is the scratch off of, board games. Like you get a little bit of this, a little bit of that. I don't know if scratch off's the right word, but it is a very, very fun game to play, because it's not really necessarily, I wouldn't say it's a point salad, so to speak, but it is something that no matter what you do, you like little things build on other things, and it enables you to have more strong turns. And like, if I go here, I get this bonus, I could pay for that. And it's so nicely intertwined and interwoven. Yeah. I had to share that with some of my friends because who like games. And I'm like, I'm telling you, I'm trusting you. Just let me explain it. It's going to take a little while to teach, but it is worth it. It's just super, super fun. That's probably the one that was like, I can't.
You can't keep it to yourself. Hide it under a bushel.
Yeah, no, exactly. There was none of that. And then there's games like I'd like to teach people, but I know I guess the other one I would say is Age of Innovation, also like that. So Age of Innovation, Gaia Project, Terra Mystica.
And then there's Terra Nova, which can be found cheap every once in a while. It's a very beginner friendly. It's very
Those
easy.
are other games where I just had to teach somebody. I literally brought it to coworkers and said, when we go on this, we had a business trip. I said, we are going to literally play this in the hotel lobby, and trust me, you're going to have a good time, and you're going to be competitive, and you're going to like it. And they did. That's the thing about those games, is that even though there's a lot going on, you can be competitive on your first play just because you can literally do what the game incentivizes you to do to score points. In a lot of ways, it's very transparent of what you should do to do good things, and makes you competitive. And I think that's good. There's a ton to explore in those too. Those are very sandboxy kind of games also. But those are the kind of games where I'm like, I don't want to just play the solo. I need to teach somebody.
Yeah. If somebody, I don't know, you got in trouble, you ran over somebody's dog or the mayor's dog, and they forced you to community service, and they're like, okay, well, you're going to go to a summer camp and you have to teach, let's say, adolescents, probably 13 to 16-year-olds. You have to go and teach them board games over 6 weeks. Where would you start, and where would you end? Like how would you like do a curriculum if you were forced to start?
Oh yeah.
Some kids.
Well, you'd have to. So assuming, so in that case, it would be. I'd probably divert a little bit from the pure solo stuff. Although I love to teach people games that have solo modes, only so that if they like it, they can be totally satisfied with it themselves.
Yeah.
But I would start with a medium light game that would be considered like a gateway game, right? Classic example would be Grand Austria Hotel.
That would be your gateway.
That would be a tougher gateway. That's the only reason I picked that one is because it has a solo that you can play. The true gateways are like Catan, Ticket to Ride, Carcassonne.
Yeah, let's turn it up a little bit more. Carcassonne is like, that's the one that I will defend. I will always bring that one out.
And there's nothing wrong with those games. They're fun. Tile placement games are a lot of fun, right? But none of those can be played solo. So you have to do something else. So I guess if someone where I would start? I would start with Welcome To, because that is a game where everybody takes the turn at the same time. It's an open-handed game, and there's a lot of communication. You don't have to wait. So it does three things really well. Number one, since everybody has got the same decisions, you could talk about what it is without having, like, it's not hidden information. A real tough game to start somebody on is Seven Wonders. Seven Wonders is a great game, but because everybody is drafting cards that are hidden, it's really hard to teach people how to play that game first.
Unless you do like an open hand, like first or one or two runs. Yeah.
And so Welcome To is the opposite. That would be where I'd begin. I'd probably teach them that. I'd probably teach them Railroad Inc. Nice, easy things. Lots
roll
of
dice, draw some paths. That's a really good game. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd start with those. And then what I would probably do is I'd work them into something like Meadow. All right. So Meadow is a little more, it's also pretty easy rule-wise, but now you got to juggle a few more things in your head. Have you played Meadow before?
I have not played Meadow.
So what Meadow is it's like this game about going for a walk in the woods. Again, this is the theme. Like, it's got great artwork, but the theme, whatever. Anyway, you're basically looking for different cards to play different cards that eat different things. So like, you play a card that's a grub, and then the grub gets eaten by the bird, and then the bird might live in a tree, so it needs a tree also. So all these cards, like, in order to play a card,
all these interlocking systems. In order to do one thing, you have to do another thing before you do that.
Correct. Yeah. And the reason I would teach that next is it's still on the medium light side, maybe medium-ish, but now it forces them to make multiple decisions. They have a lot of stuff, because there's a tableau of let's see, I think it's 12 cards. No, it's 16 cards to draw out from. So you've 16 options in front of you in a hand of cards. So it helps people like juggle multiple things. It's not straightforward. You can do a lot of things. But the rules are simple. You basically take a card, play a card, take a card, play a card. Then I'd probably dial it up a little bit more into like that middle range where, again, I got 6 weeks, right? So I play games like, let's see. I'm looking behind me now to get some inspiration. Like Books of Time would be a good one. Tapestry. These are games. They're definitely middleweight games.
Stonemaier, so Wingspan. Maybe Earth.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
Or what's the other good Stonemaier one?
Scythe is a good one. That's older, but that's a good one. That kind of would get people interested in tableau building or some light conflict and Scythe and stuff like that. I play a lot of games like that. We'd play games like, I'd probably teach them. That's probably a little bit hard, but Encyclopedia is a really good set collection game. So there's a lot of games out there that would be fun. Shipyard would be pretty straightforward, easy game that has a rondel mechanic that has a very simple, straightforward goal. I'm building ships, and I'm building them with specific characteristics to score. And then I dial it up and say, all right, now we're getting into this is the glory. Here we're going to play games like Nucleum, and we're going to play games like Inventors of the South Tigris and Scholars of the South Tigris. And
I've done those. There's a lot of different things that rely on a lot of different things. And so one thing that I've learned in like exploring this with my family and then kind of going solo is that once we learn a mechanic, then you can kind of import these different mechanics and learn a new game, and you can get the people that you're playing with start to be able to hold these different things in their head, yes, and then understand that there's all these different parameters to what the game involves.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. And I want them to, I would basically try to get to a point where they're like, wow, this is blowing my mind. There's so much that I could do in this game, or consider, you brought up A Feast for Odin. That would be at that level at the top where I say this game has 50 different actions, Civolution, but there's so many things you could do. This is a game that I feel like you could play all year. Not necessarily every day, but you could play 50 different games and still have some desire to keep going. And that's how I want to finish.
Yeah.
Is say these are now a collection of games where you could play over and over, and still find something new to do and something cool. So it'd be fun. I'd be happy to do that.
Maybe you should do that. Maybe that's a little idea.
I'd love to have the time. I say that if I could have my, like maybe when I retire, I could go work for a board game store and just teach people how to play games that come in. If I still got my wits about me, who knows? Maybe it'll keep me from Alzheimer's or something like that.
I think there's probably health benefits. We should, get some federal funding to study all the gamers out there.
Yeah. Yeah, give me a decade-long research project into fending off dementia by learning games and playing them all the time. I'd do it. I'd take one for the team.
What's a game that from 10 years ago that you still play on occasion? Like what's one of the longer standing games, even 5 years ago or 4 years ago, like something that is just gonna stick around?
Yes, that's a great question. And I think the first game that comes to mind is Agricola. That game's almost 20 years old now. And I've been playing it. I even sold it and then bought it again, surprisingly, because I was playing it on the app. And I realized, I like playing in the app on iOS. I wanted to play it again. And I bought the revised version. So that's one for sure.
That just they just did a big crowdfunding for that.
Yeah, for like the new one. I would say I'm not, even though I have a collection of games, I'm not a collector. I'm a user of them. I'm going to either use it or I'm not. I wouldn't replace a game just to get another version. Okay. I'd rather have the variety. The other one would be Caverna. That's a game that's at least 12 years old that I've been playing regularly every, couple of months or whatever.
These are by the same developer.
Same developer.
Rosenberg.
Yeah, Uwe Rosenberg.
Feast for Odin, Caverna, and then he's done Bonanza, which is a great party game.
Yes.
Super simple.
People really like Bonanza. I've played it a couple times. It's not a solo game, but it's a fun game. Yeah. Sorry, I don't want to spend too much time on this question, but it's intriguing. Yeah, a lot of the Rosenberg games have lasted. Newton is an older game. I've been playing that again regularly. That game, I think in 2016 it came out.
What do you think is it about? Oh, I'm sorry. Go on.
The last one I was going to say, a game that it has a fan-made solo. And I love Brass, especially Brass Birmingham. Those games I will never sell. I'll keep the multiplayer because I love playing those games every now and then. And Nucleum is very similar, except it does have a solo mode and it scratches that itch. That one I know I'll be playing 20 years from now. For sure.
David Turtzi is probably one of the premier solo designers. He works with a lot of other game developers to make that.
And he's a genius because he figured out ways to allow a competent opponent to play as competitively as an opponent without, with a randomness to it, a deck of cards, a situation that tells you what it'll do. And he really pioneered that. I shouldn't say that. I guess the guys over in Stonemaier Games with their Automa deck for Viticulture were the ones I first saw.
Viticulture was the other one I should have said. Yeah.
But Turtzi mastered the craft.
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
Now I will say this. So I like that style, but I also like games like the Uwe Rosenberg games where all you're doing is blocking yourself. Like a Feast for Odin, you're just blocking those spaces for the next time. And I like both sides. I don't have to play. I like beat your own score sometimes. I like an Automa opponent sometimes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. What is it about Uwe? You named like Feast for Odin, Caverna, Agricola, and there's a few other ones, but what is it? The theme, it's usually farming and you're feeding people at the end. It's very simple. You're just moving cardboard around, but what is it about that? Like you keep on coming back to it. What's satisfying about that?
I think again, it's because most of them have so much to explore, with the exception of Agricola, where when you play Agricola solo, you pretty much have to optimize everything you're doing.
But okay, so just dialing down into that, even though you have less decisions, like you really have to meet these metrics, you still want to play it because there's still variation.
Yes. Well, two reasons there. Number one, because you do have a hand of 7 professions and 7 minor occupations. So that makes every game unique because you're never going to have the same starting point. Okay. If you didn't have that, it wouldn't be as fun. It would be the same game over and over. And that would be very solvable for the most part. And Caverna is different only because Caverna, you have access to all the buildings you want to build. So it's like having access to the entire deck of cards from the very get-go. And those two are really good together. But the reason I like them is because there's so much to explore in every game that he makes that are, I would say, big box games like that. And he has given me a tapestry to weave in whatever direction I want to. Fields of Arl is so much like that. There's a limited amount of variety in some ways in that game because a lot of the buildings are repeats, but because there's so many things you can improve and optimize and focus on and take different ways, it is just an enjoyable game to play again and again. Once you know how to play it, it's very rememberable. That's the other thing about his games that are nice.
Yeah. It's very,
You can easily pick it up after months and set it back up and still play with just a slight brush up. Yeah. The converse of that are, and I love his games, but Shem Phillips games, you can't just pick it up again because there's so many nuanced things and rules. Like,
what's some examples of his?
So Scholars of the South Tigris or Inventors of the South Tigris or Paladins of the West Kingdom. Those are great games, great solo games, but it's very hard unless you're playing them regularly to remember how to play them at a moment's notice. Where if someone put a gun to my head and said, teach me how to play A Feast for Arl, I haven't played it in 6 months. I could teach them how to play it like it was yesterday.
Yeah.
I get blown away if I was Scholars of the South Tigris. So
I've been playing, I fell in love with Feast for Odin about a year ago, and I've been playing on Board Game Geek, and I think I'm pretty good because like I can get to 150 to 180 pretty reliably. But what I liked actually with that particular game, I will go back and I'll watch the replay to see how tight I can make the systems, because you're being thrown at so many different things and then people are blocking you. So there's something about like I built something like it emulates like I own that particular, all those different choices led to this particular game state. And I guess in a game like chess, like you can see all these different moves, you can see the end game, or you can kind of predict how it goes. So with Uwe, like there's a really graphic representation of you starting from nothing, literally, and then going to some sort of opulence or richness. So there's this arc of that. Conversely, I'm wondering about like RPGs or more story-based games. Are there any games like that I tried to play Sleeping Gods, but the tutorial just turned me off because you're just like, I'm going to throw a bunch of things about these orcs. I didn't want to learn the combat mechanic and do a bunch of reading back and forth. But I'm wondering if there's any games that have really like have a lot of storytelling, a lot of narrative, and that you just want to play through an entire campaign. Yeah.
That's a great question because I think that I have played Sleeping Gods. I finished the game and I didn't want to play it again, right? It was like, okay, I've done. I have no desire to see a different ending because the system wasn't interesting enough. The best narrative ones that I've seen, I think, are probably I'll probably say ISS Vanguard. That's a heavily narrative based game.
This is a space game.
It's a
You're
very
doing exploring.
And you're in that one required that is a campaign game. So that is a game that you have to be committed to playing it over and over and over and over because the story unravels. That's a game where I think thematically is really good and the mechanics are also fun. Now some people say it gets repetitive because I'm rolling a lot of dice checks, but I still think it's worth the squeeze for sure. So that would be one of the top ones there. Wandering Galaxy has it's a wonky story. It's a Crossroads game. It's the first Crossroads game I've seen that actually you can play solo. They did a ton to build a Guardians of a Galaxy kind of feel to it. It's a silly kind of theme, but not stupid. It's not. It's just a lighter kind of thing where you're doing all these things where you can get killed and you can blow up and it's the other thing, but it's like at that level of kind of, it's just lighter. Like, oh, my engine exploded. Oh, this is going to be rough. All right, here we go. And it's a very narrative based game that has an arc because in that game, you're really trying to get to your objective by the skin of your teeth before you basically just implode on yourself, like too much damage or too much this or too much that. And the thing about that one that's really fun is that you really don't know what the heck is going to happen to you. You're running this ship and there's 6 different stations and it throws some stuff like random stuff. You have no idea. And you have a lot of choices. Do I do this? Do I do this? Do I do this? And they pressure you because you have a time limit to make those choices. So you can't overanalyze it, which I think is pretty ingenious, to be honest.
Crisis management, but like there's a real ticker to it.
Yeah. And that's a really good game that has a good arc that makes you kind of feel like you're accelerating into the end and it's not boring.
Yeah. I play a lot of Cthulhu Death May Die with my kids. And there's a mechanic in that where something bad happens. Like you make your move, and then we have this deck of cards. It's like the something bad happens deck, and you're like, okay, how is this going to get worse? There's something really beautiful about like, oh, everything's going to hell, and it keeps on going to hell, and you kind of just relax into it and see who's going to die first and die last.
Right. Yeah, the threat deck or the consequence deck or the horror deck or whatever. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You got to draw it. And you, like you said, you got to lean into that. Like, here we go.
That's very thematic. So just to wrap up, and thank you very much for your time. I've had a
my pleasure.
Great time talking with you. I'm wondering if you have ever thought, or if the idea in the back of your mind is like, you know what, I've studied this art form. Maybe I should pony up and put something together. You ever want to design something yourself?
So the irony is, especially before I started solo gaming, I designed like 12 or 15 games.
Really?
But I never had the patience and the dedication to play test them enough.
Okay.
And that's what separates the guy who likes to create from the guy who likes to succeed. And I realized, I probably got pretty close on a couple of them, but I would have had to put a team of people through a lot of agony to get it to where it was right. I made this game once about Great Lake shipping, like freighters in the Great Lakes and stuff.
Oh,
and
really?
It was highly inspired by some deck building mechanics and some other things that were used in A Few Acres of Snow, because I really liked that game. That was by Martin Wallace, and he took the Dominion deck building style and made it into a game. I really liked that idea. And so I did a ton of research on it, and I spent a lot of time, and I loved that part. And then I started playing it, and I hated that part. It was like, oh man, the pacing's wrong. The hours it's going to take to do this. The linear, it's obvious this is a linear avenue, and that's when I realized these people who do a good job with these games, they work on a game for years. And that's why I don't bash designers, because I know this game started in 2012, didn't come out till 2018. And it's got 100 playtesters, and they revamped it over and over until it got to be worth something. And that's also the thing is I always felt like if I can't come up with something brand new, then I don't want to just do a derivative thing. Anybody can make a derivative game that's play as many games as I have. I could slap these
Yeah.
ideas
Okay.
together and it would
Yeah.
be balanced because I'd math it out.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
I don't know how many times I started and didn't. And I wanted to make a game about polyolefin processing because
About
I
what?
about polyolefin processing, plastics processing. Um, because my real career is in color concentrate for plastics.
Really?
So I know an awful lot about polymer science and compounding and this and that. And I
Yeah.
thought it'd be fun to make a game for refining, and I did. And I even tried to get it published, and it was one of those games where it actually was balanced and everything else, but it wasn't good enough to. I mean, it was effectively pretty random in some ways. It was a market manipulation game and stuff. It was okay, but it didn't have the spark. Um,
Mm.
so I realized, I wouldn't say early on. I realized after trying a couple years, my passion is in learning and playing and enjoying. I don't have the patience to do a game justice.
Yeah. Would you
Um,
be a playtester or have you?
I have done it limitedly, but I'm not a good playtester, and I'll say that because I'm like a guy you want to playtest once or twice to give you an experienced opinion, but I don't want to sit down and play test the same game over and over to help refine it with that person.
Yeah.
So I've
Okay.
play tested people's stuff
You're a
before.
taste tester, playtester kind of thing.
Yes. Yeah. I'm not going to sit here and play it 10 times or 20 times or 30 times. And the reason is it's not because I'm selfish. It's because my biggest problem is I like the spice of variety.
Yeah.
I don't play any of my games 10 times in a row. I have 15 games I juggle, I rotate in and out of,
Yeah.
that I play on a regular basis. And that's why I never get really good at them because I feel like playing something else. I'll feel like
Going
doing
on.
this.
Yeah.
I don't run it
Yeah.
into the ground. And to do a good job of playtesting,
You gotta
you gotta
run it on
debug
the
that
ground.
thing, right?
When you learn a language, like a different language, Spanish, Chinese, whatever, uh, they say in school, like when you're learning it, they say once you start dreaming in it, then you started learning. Have you ever started dreaming in board games?
Oh yeah, all the time.
Yeah.
But it's not the kind of dreams you'd like. It's the kind of like I'm setting up a game to try to teach people, and I can't keep people listening till I'm done. Or I don't understand why I don't remember how to play this game. I have a mythical game in my brain that shows up in my dreams that doesn't exist in real life that I have tried to play. I don't know how many times in my
Huh.
dreams. It feels like a combination of a Shem Phillips game with a roll and write with and it haunts me. And I always remember halfway through the dream that I didn't include this one module, and like we left this whole module out. Why didn't I include it? So yeah, it's all about the anxiety of it apparently when I do that. And
Yeah.
then the classic thing is that I can't get it back in the box, or I'm still setting it up and like we're going someplace, or there's a flight I need to take. And why would I set this up in the airport? Oh my gosh, there's people who are getting on a plane. What the hell was I doing? So
Huh.
that's what I dream in. It's
Yeah.
very rarely I'm like playing an actual game that I really enjoy. It's always some kind of
Yeah.
perturbation that doesn't quite
Yeah.
exist.
Showing up to class naked or something like that.
Mhm. Yeah.
What's it been like going public, having YouTube? What do you enjoy about being public like this? What benefits have you gotten from developing an online community?
I really appreciate that people appreciate the channel. That is a really nice feeling when people thank me for doing it because I like doing it. It's just fun to share, right? That's what it is. I love sharing my passion with other people, and I appreciate that. I also like it when they help me, when they point out, hey, you didn't do this right. When you're a solo gamer, who's going to help me, right?
Yeah.
If I learn it wrong, so I never take offense. I don't love it when people are like, they get a little bit critical, like, oh, this is obviously garbage. He clearly did it. It's like, well, you could just tell me, hey, man, you missed this. I appreciate that. That's very rare. I love the fact that people will watch it and they can see this is a game I like to play, or wow, I will be forever suffering through that. I don't want anything to do with that game. So The biggest thing is helping people to learn, is the solo game right for them or not? And that's a lot of fun. I love doing that.
Is there any collaboration that you've been able to do with other content creators in the board game space? There's only probably, I'd say, like 30 channels. Well, I mean, there's a lot of channels, most with like hardly any subs, but like there's only like 15, 20 really big channels that this hobby supports at this time.
Yeah, and no one's ever really asked me to do that. I would be happy to help. I think I just, for whatever reason, I can't. I fly under the radar, and I'm not sure why. It's just it's all been grown very organically. Like people stumble upon it and they're happy with it. It's I'm not getting any sponsors or anything like that. It's a joy when somebody asks me, "Hey, would you like to review my game? I'll provide a copy." That's only happened a few times. I love doing that. It's fun for me to learn something new and provide an honest review, and usually that goes very, very well. I've tried to get, like, I don't know, it doesn't seem like I'm the right brand anymore for Board Game Geek. They seem to cater to a different group of people that like have more going on. I feel like, to date myself, sometimes it feels like Wayne's World down here and in my own game room by myself doing my own show. And that's it, right? It's just a small, like, nothing's not. I'm not going to sign with Noah's Arcade or something like that, and all of a sudden make it big. And Tom Bassel is not asking me to join his dice tower, right?
He's a cool guy. Have you gone on any of the cruises, or would you?
Oh no. I mean, that sounds like fun, and I'm not. I like Tom Bassel. He was the first guy I ever watched his videos. Don't get me wrong. There's nothing wrong with him. I'm just saying. Pointing out, I'm not part of like a conglomerate. Not that I would. I mean, I'd be happy to contribute and help. No, it's just me, me and myself and my camera.
What's coming up for the channel? Do you plot things out? What's your summer? What's the summer looking like?
So I tell people, you experience gaming as I buy the games that I like. So when games come, I've got Kickstarters that are out there that should roll in pretty soon. They come in as they come in. The Gen Con's coming up. So, with that, usually there's a list. Games will be released at Gen Con that I'll be excited about. I'll go through very soon. Just kind of look for previews and pre-order them. And so that's what drives the content. It's basically what I am going to play, what I'm excited about. And I find that through, just the gaming seasons, right? So I have not done my Gen Con look yet. That's got to be coming up soon.
What's Gen Con stand for? Is conference?
Yes. So Gen Con is the second largest board game conference in the world. It happens in Indianapolis in early August. And ironically, I've never gone, even though I'm only a few hours away.
You should go.
And I know. The reason I don't is it always corresponds right in line with a trip that I take annually with people that I've grown up with. So the timing is just off. One day I'm going to go. Ironically, I've actually been blessed enough to go to Essen twice, which is in Germany, and that's the largest one. And that's a conference. But yeah, so basically, we'll see what happens. We'll see what comes out. Whenever I find a game that I'm really excited about, usually I'll do as much to feature it as I can. I'll review it. It always starts with the unboxing. That's like the preview of what's coming up. You look at my unboxings, 95% of them are going to get a review. The only time they don't is if it's horrible. And I'm like, oh, that was a terrible choice. And I should never have made this. And I'm embarrassed and I need to sell it fast. And that doesn't happen very often anymore, thank God. I've got one game that I have to do a review on, Tiletum, with the expansion. That is still in my queue. I just finished some stuff with Shackleton Base, which was awesome. Highly recommend that for people.
That's the Moon game.
Yep.
Can you get that game. Like retail yet, or is that?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I don't have any special hookups. I get it at the retail or I pre-order it. I mean, Kickstarter sometimes. I always tell people, like, the gaming life I live is just my life. You get to come along for the journey if you want. Yeah. I don't get any. I've bagged dice. What is it? For pity's sake, I'm blanking. Board and dice. I've begged Board and Dice, like, please, I'd be happy to review your games, and they're like, not at this time. because I love their products. They're great.
Yeah.
A lot of them are from Turtsy. They all have good solo modes, but nah, it's just
Board and
it is.
dice. What would be one or two of the
So
big ones?
Tiletum is a board and dice game. Nucleum is probably their
Okay.
best board
Yeah.
and dice. But
You
there's a
really
lot
like
of really good
Nucleum.
ones. Oh
I
yeah,
keep on
Nucleum's
like
great.
almost getting it and then deciding on something else.
I love that game because it provides. It's very much like Brass, which is one of my all-time favorite
So
games.
it's like there's tracks and resources. So it's a spatial puzzle, but it's also a resource management puzzle.
The fun thing about that game is in Brass and then in general is that you're putting things on the map that you then will be able to activate. And when they activate through one method or another, they score you points. And there's a competition of how you're going to activate them. And Brass is in a lot of ways, Brass is better just because it's more interactive. But that's also why you don't see a solo, because you can like build a mine that someone will use your resources to
Yeah. Okay.
activate your building for you, etc. Nucleum doesn't quite do that. It's much more of a solo feel. But those are great for people who like very tight economic resource based games. So you're doing a lot. It's a very tight game, but it's a lot of fun. It's a heavy game. It's a heavy game. It's not an easy one to learn, but it's worth it. Definitely worth it.
Yeah. Worth the squeeze, as John LaRuffa says.
Yeah, the juice is worth the squeeze. Exactly.
Yeah. John, I really appreciate your time tonight and also sharing your hobby. You've given me a lot of information and opinion, and you go and you find reviewers that you like, and you kind of learn their tastes. You're like, okay, I understand what he likes and where it overlaps with what I like. So I just really appreciate your unbiased unboxings. You're really straight, like just you're a guy that loves the thing that you do, and it's just great to interact like with your content and then be able to poke your brain tonight.
Yeah,
So
thank you,
very
man.
much.
I really appreciate the invite. I'd be happy to help. Very happy to help. And thank
Absolutely.
you for
I'm
the interview.
gonna have to get you on Board Game Arena. We could play a game or two.
Oh, absolutely. That'd be great. Even if it's turn based, right? Well, then there's always time to keep taking the turn.
Wait, we can wait. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna end the recording. Thank you very much for
Oh yeah.
your time. There you go. Thanks, John.